Yeah, I'll react to that, sure. All endings, Roman Empire. I'm not really sure what that means, but let's learn. Hope everyone's doing well. Hey, guys. Oh, God. Roman Empire overcomes its internal and external pitfalls, surviving as an entity beyond classical antiquity and uniting the Mediterranean. All right, so this is alternate history. Canon ending. Yeah, the thing about this is you might have, obviously you never know because of survivorship bias. Whatever happens in history is what happens in history. But maybe Europe would never have gone on to kind of conquer the world in a lot of ways if the Roman Empire didn't split in two and fall, and then fall eventually to the Muslims in the east. And then eventually you had to go search elsewhere for trade routes, which led to the Age of Exploration, which led to Europeans dominating shipping and naval warfare. And so you might think like, oh, you might be much more advanced if the Roman Empire stayed, but maybe that's not the case. After the death of Theodosius I, the empire is divided into east and west, ruled separately, with the east eventually becoming the Byzantine Empire and the west falling due to internal failures and barbarian invasions. I'm not sure how I like the term barbarian, not because it's like insensitive or anything like that, but because so barbarian just meant anyone from the outside, you know? Kind of confusing. Jesus, Roman Empire becomes the height of civilization, realizing its potential as a continental empire that rules over Europe and beyond. Good luck keeping that together. This is where alternate history gets into pure fiction almost, not even historical fiction, because now so much time has passed since the real canon, as he said, fall of the Roman Empire, and so many things would have happened that going this far into the future, into a colonial Roman Empire, just seems so silly even to think about, honestly. I do love alternate history, but at what point are you just disregarding every other factor and variable? You know, it's like... Despite being divided, the West Roman Empire overcomes mismanagement. Okay, so the Western Roman Empire survives. Ostrogoths thrive in the rubble of Roman Empire, eventually uniting with the Visigoth to form the new Gothic Empire. I don't really have much to say about that one. Frankish ending. Isn't this kind of... After conquering the Lombards, the Carolingian Empire fights more campaigns through the Italian peninsula and claims Rome. This is sort of what happened, right? Or not to this full extent, but you had central, east, and west Francia, right? So I guess that's not too far off. Second Roman ending. The Byzantine Empire expands across... Okay, so Belisarius is more successful, maybe? The Byzantine and Justinian... Justin I. The Byzantine Empire expands across the West Mediterranean, beyond its extent under the Justin I, and relocates its capital back to Rome. Okay. So it's like the Roman Empire Part 2. After conquering all the Arctic Ocean, the Russian Empire truly sets it in stone Moscow title as the Third Rome. Interesting. But how would you get all of this territory? I know they went into Alaska a bit, but they didn't have much of a presence there. And now you're saying Greenland and Nunavut and Northwest Territory, Yukon Territory are now part of them. These are interesting scenarios, but federalization of the Holy Roman Empire in conjunction with the Habsburg throne leads to the unity of Western Europe as Holy Rome. See, all of these things, I guess, could happen, but it's about... They could happen and they could survive in a vacuum, but history isn't a vacuum. And it's likely going to fall apart. It's not really about getting these borders. It's about keeping all the different cultures and peoples with different languages and ethnicities all in one area, and that's gonna fall apart like it always does, especially in Europe. Neo-Roman ending. An Axis victory of World War... so post-World War II, alternate history? Axis victory of World War II brings the Mediterranean back to United era under fascist Benito Mussolini's Neo-Roman Empire. I'm trying to find conflict with Germany, but I mean, most of this is kind of Vichy France, and maybe Germany would be okay with that. And then you'd have to conquer Spain as well, and that hasn't been... I mean, ask Napoleon about that. That wouldn't be a fun time. And I mean, a Axis victory would mean that, you know, a lot of this would be French territory, but Axis victory means France is subdued under German and, I guess, this Neo-Roman Italian power. And so I guess this is feasible, that Italy could hold all of this land. I guess. I mean, you would have... I mean, your main contenders down here would be France and the UK, and in an Axis victory, France and UK are no longer threats to you. And so Germany taking all of this area and Italy controlling this area doesn't seem too crazy as far as these scenarios go. If I'm saying anything that's just flat out wrong in your eyes, please call me out, because that's very much a possibility. Or maybe not wrong, but you disagree, since these are theoretical things, you know. Etruscan ending. The Etruscans are... Did I miss one? No. In this timeline, the Etruscans are known as the true founder of Rome, and a society is built purely on Etruscan culture with little Latin influence. So what time period are you talking here? Like a revival of the Etruscans, or are you going way back to like 300 BC and the Romans just were defeated by the Etruscans? And then that's so deep in history. What would that look like today? It'd probably not exist. And I'm not really sure. I don't know much about Etruscan culture and society, so I don't really know what a non-Latin influenced Italian peninsula would be like. Illyrian, coming from the Balkan span to the Italian peninsula, form their own kingdom. I mean, sure, again, I don't know. Just like with the Etruscans, I just don't know enough to really have any comment there about the Illyrians. Again, interesting, but so far back, I'm not sure it would have a lot of current day. Well, of course, it would have a lot of current day implications. We'd be talking about Carthage more than Rome. Returning from Macedonian ending. Begins a campaign through Europe and is the founder of Rome. Yeah, that'd be interesting. I doubt you could hold on to all this over here, but... It's a Syrian ending. Having survived his assassination, Julius Caesar amplifies his legacy by leading the Roman Republic in a campaign through to Parthia. You know, Augustus seemed to have done Augustus seemed to have done such a great job as the first Roman emperor that I'm not sure that even if Caesar had survived and then named Augustus his heir, would much change, since Augustus seemed to have done really well and would probably have done what Caesar had wanted him to, but what do I know? So I could absolutely be wrong there, so call me out. Bulgarian ending. Led by Alcek, the Bulgars traverse and settle the Italian peninsula and eventually become the leaders of Rome. Again, don't have much. The oldest history of Bulgaria and Bulgarians I know of is from watching videos about the Bulgar Slayer, something the second, the Bulgar Slayer. Boris. Something the second, the Bulgar Slayer. Oh my god. And that was conflict between the Eastern Roman Empire and Bulgaria. Mongol ending. Yeah, I just don't see the Mongols being... I mean, the Mongols were so great on horseback that a lot of the Asian steppe area, going from like Poland to Korea and down into here, I mean, they had their nomadic ways and they had their horses and could reach you and do battle. But taking control of the Mediterranean, where you're not exactly known as people who, with navies, I'm not sure that this could hold for very long. But that would be crazy, reaching from the Pacific to the Atlantic. Christian ending. Okay, so Christianity is embraced earlier on. Okay. Islamic ending. This wasn't too far off from being actually... I mean, you basically just had this area that you'd have to take control of. Islam spreads as the dominant religion across the Mediterranean, and the Caliphate becomes known as a new coming of the Roman Empire. That would have enormous implications and would be very fascinating to... Man, I would love... This isn't going to sound weird, but you know how people think of, like, heaven? You know, like, what would it be? I'm not a religious person, I say often, but I have no problem with religions. Unless they try and, you know. But I'm trying to think what would be the most happiness I could possibly achieve in a theoretical, like, afterlife. And it would be being able to travel back in any moment in history and be a kind of a ghost or like an unkillable person and go back in history and just witness things and be able to see like tweaked endings and see how this stuff would turn out. You couldn't do that for eternity, but I could spend centuries being quite content just doing that all over. That would be so cool. But I know that's pretty random. Romaine, having survived into the modern day, the Roman Empire transitions into a modern-day democratic republic centered around the Mediterranean. See, so much would be changed if the Roman Empire survived fully intact up until today that you don't even know if democracy and republics and what else would happen. And so this is the kind of alternate ending, alternate history stuff that it doesn't doesn't do it for me because it ignores so many possible stuff that would have happened in the meantime, and then you try and just zoom to the future and place the Roman Empire in modern day as if everything else stayed the same, and that's just never going to happen. And so it's like, yeah, okay, cool, I guess. Sure. Scotland. The Romans engage in a great military conflict with Scotland getting sacked as the Scots arrive in Rome on unicorns and invade. Yes. And they team up with the Welsh with their dragons, I'm assuming. That was interesting. I like kind of thinking about how each of those things would happen. There are certain things like this one, again, that I'm just like, whatever. And the one where Rome became right here, a colonial Rome. Yeah, I mean, obviously it's alternate history, and so I get it. I that if you can't tweak things that might happen that you don't know would happen in this alternate era, but that's why the further you take the original empire that you're trying to hold on to into the future, the further into the future you go and the greater the amount of territory you hold, like all of this in the future, it's like, all right, I know no one could really know what happens even in a small span of history of alternate history, but being this far ahead, thinking that, oh, the Roman Empire is still going to be alive, and hey, in 1492, Columbus crosses the Atlantic, and then now Rome would be in charge of that. It's like, no, none of those people would exist. None of that. If such a big ending like this happened, I'm sure that every single famous historical figure that we know of since the year 1000 would not even exist, just because so many things would have changed that it would have this domino effect, and we would have a whole different spread of historical figures. So it was an interesting video. I'm going on almost 20 minutes on a 4-minute video, but that was fun. Hope everyone's doing well. Would love to see any comments down below. Call me out if I said something stupid. It's very possible. It's happened before, many times. And I hope I'll see you guys next time. We'll keep on learning. Bye, guys.